All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the July 6, 2015 work session of the Salisbury City Council. As you all know, we're starting early today because this evening there's a viewing for Mr. Jan Wiseman, the well-known and beloved Executive Director of the Greater Salisbury Committee, who recently passed, and we all want to be with him or with his family in remembering him. So we're going to get started. We do have that tight deadline to meet at the end of this evening's schedule. So we're going to start with the SWED update. So I'll invite Mr. Dave Ryan to come forward and join us.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome.
Council, thanks for having me in.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. I hope everyone had a safe and happy, enjoyable Labor Day weekend. And Jan was a good friend of mine, and he'll be remembered finally from our office and myself. We've done a lot of projects and initiatives together, and I always appreciate his calmness and respectfulness and demeanor in which he carried himself. So my prayers are with his family as well. But thank you for having me in today, and if I'd like to make a brief presentation and then certainly entertain any questions that the council may have. The last time we met, of course, was during budget session. That was a far different reason from my standpoint for reaching out to the council at that point. Since then, we do have a new administrative assistant full-time in the office, and Rebecca Maldonado comes from the University of Puerto Rico, and she's fluent in both English and Spanish, and so she's in her entering her third week, so she's quickly approaching veteran status in our office. And I've been going paperless, and with doubling of the staff, you'll start to see increased and enhanced communication and other initiatives coming out of our office. I want to touch on some of our recent marketing initiatives. We met with the U.S. and India Relations Forum, sponsored by Maryland's Department of Business and Economic Development about a month or so ago in Annapolis. And some of our fastest growing employers, at least in the manufacturing industry, are India-based. So part of the initiative is targeting India-based companies that may wish an entryway into the United States. And we were one of 3 counties that were able to present to that group, I think back in May. We also attended the SPIE. Sounds like SPIES or close to it, but it's a photonics and defense industry trade show in Baltimore. Along with DBED, we provided collateral material for aeronautics industry locally to DBED as they ventured to Paris, France, and presented our collateral material, amongst others, counties as well, at the Paris Air Show. It's one of the largest air shows in the world. We provided collateral material in the recent Shark Tank at SU. At every package that Shark Tank participants received was a piece from us on behalf of the Salisbury and the county, asking how we might be of help to their businesses and how we might help them start new businesses here. We were pleased to sponsor the student competitions. That's the poster competition, the Bernstein competition, and Radford competition at SU, along with a number of private sector industries. It's just been a terrific a mushroom of entrepreneurship going on at SU, and we appreciate that partnership. And in the future, we're working with our counterparts in Worcester and Somerset counties to bring new Secretary Mike Gill in for a tour of the region, and probably closer to mid-August timeframe. A little bit about the Lavinol transition at this point. The recent updates, we were able to connect the HR team at Lavinol with the Maryland Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation team at the state level, which is our team, so that we can collaborate. There's a number of resources that Lavinol is offering the employees, and there's a number of resources that the state is offering. You can offer employees in that transitional time. So we thought it best that we enhance both of those by collectively and collaboratively working together, and we were pleased to be on that road. We've also connected a number of employers and continue to connect a number of employers to the folks at Labinal. I can't tell you how gratifying it is that employers that are in need, that are in the hiring mode, that are reaching out and connecting them with the labor market force at Labinal. We have taken an inventory of the skill sets within the plan, as well as the amenities of the plan itself, for better marketing and more reaching out to those companies that may be in the need of those particular skill sets or a facility of that nature. So we continue to reach out and work I can assure you there's not a day that goes by in which we're not heavily involved in that transitional process in one way, shape, or form. We continue to reach out to our existing employee base and corporate visits, particularly amongst the larger employers. And the last, I know 1 month the trend does not make, but the last month was, I think we hit 6.4% unemployment rate, and that was with a slight increase in the labor force, which is a very positive sign, and a slightly larger increase in the employment figure, which is an even larger benefit. That's on a countywide basis. We haven't seen those numbers like that, the unemployment rate, since late 2008 or so. So it's been a long time, and it's slowly, and still very sluggish out there, but slowly we're seeing some measured improvement. One thing we have noticed in visiting different employers around is the need for skilled employees, and the more we can reach out in training programs, and we're encouraging the county delegation to the state, and if there's anything the city can do for the state level to promote and maybe reignite the training programs of the past. They've been very effective over many years. I refer to the Partnership for Workforce Quality at the state level, and that's a program where we can match private sector funds on an individual company basis, and not all needs, not all skill sets are at the same time or applicable across different industries. This way, we could really target those needs in a very targeted fashion. So we're helping to secure some training grants that are left over from last year, frankly, and we think we've done that, but we haven't signed them up quite yet. So, but that's one thing we've discovered is the need for training, and we look forward to more collaboration and that as we move forward. And we're certainly reevaluating our marketing message. If we, as you look at some of the collateral material that we have out, it's about SWED, about Salisbury, and that's all good, but let's focus on start a business here, let's focus on grow your business here, and let's focus on move your business here. So you'll start to see more of that coming out in the months to come, or weeks to come. So that's a very quick and brief understanding of the time frame, summary of perhaps a little bit about what we've been up to in the past couple of months since we met with you last, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Mr. Ryan, just one. Given that employment is growing in the county, to what industries, to what employers do you attribute that growth? I mean, can we identify where the positive number is coming from?
Well, I think it's across sectors. I don't know that it's any one. I can't point to any one particular sector. If we looked at the job openings, I think the healthcare, the retail market, manufacturing sector are the larger categories there. But I think it's literally across the board. When we saw the increase in the job base prior to the recession, it was across the board. Just about every sector we saw increases in construction, professional business service. Professional business service, these are your engineers, your architects, surveyors, paralegals, mortgage brokers, things like that. You would naturally think that, but it also raised lots of other sectors when you think about flooring or paint and things like that, and so associated with new home construction. So I think when we on the other side of the recession, we lost those same jobs, and now I think we're recovering across the board. I haven't seen one particular sector any more than the other, keeping in mind our strengths being ag and poultry, higher ed, healthcare, and perhaps entrepreneurship.
I have a question. You talked about training and One of the things I like to see, and I don't know if they're doing it, is apprenticeship in job skill jobs, like companies that would take someone on and be an apprentice, if it's in construction, electronics, some kind of apprenticeship to build someone's skills up. It's just like when you graduate from high school, you're going to apply for a job, and they say, well, you don't have the skills.
Right.
So how are you going to get the skills if you don't?
And companies used to do more of that training.
Yeah, and
in-house,
that's what I
and
like.
they're
When you
doing-
said go back, that's what made me think about,
I think,
they would do apprenticeships on some
Yeah.
jobs. You know,
Yeah.
you can send them to Warwick Tech. If they don't have the job experience, it's still hard for them to get a job.
right, I understand, and I think companies used to, you know, have more training programs in the years past than perhaps what the market's yielding today. But that's someplace where we can perhaps help fill
That's
that
what- that's
gap.
what- when you
Not
talk about
just
training.
not just city,
Yeah,
but collectively as a
yeah.
community, as a region, can we do more of that? I know we're working on with the Maryland Energy Administration on receiving training funds for welding. That was more initially associated with the possibility of offshore wind. Irregardless of whether that happens or not, we have a need for welders here now.
Sure.
So programs like that, the more we can do going forward, and we're reaching out to our partners. I think the better off we're going to be. You know, if there's 2,000 to 3,000 jobs opening almost any given time within our region, and there's 3,000 or 4,000 people employed within our region. If we could put 100 to work, that would be like bringing in a new company with 100 new jobs, and we all would be celebrating it. So, and the models changed somewhat, given the less in-house training programs and versus yesterday versus today.
And also, the mindset of employers. The Daily Times did an article on this young man who had been in trouble when he was young. He looked for a job, and he had to put on his record when they did criminal background check, the ECI. They let him go, and he did he paid his price, he paid his role. He hadn't committed a crime in years and years and years, and it's still hard and difficult for people, even with non-violent or non-drug charges, to get a job. I think the employer should be a little more lenient in looking at the person's background. Has he been in trouble? Has he been re-entered into the prison system? And if someone has not been into jail once they make their first mistake, they should be given a second chance. And to me, it's so difficult for it. And then if someone goes and gets out of jail and they can't get a job, he returns back to the criminal. And I think some employers could reduce crime by hiring some of these people, especially someone who's paid their dues. So I think I would like to see that encouraged, because that young man had a story to tell, and I think it's more out here in the public that has those kind of similar stories. They might have the skills to work for these jobs.
I am searching my brain right now. I was just in a conversation the other day with someone that's in the construction, I want to say flooring, but they are hiring 5 people. They're looking for 5 people, and they're going to do that apprenticeship, train them, pay them a good wage, benefits, and everything while they train them, and they can't find 5 people to do it. So there's some disconnect that we're not making those connections between those that are looking for work and those that are looking for employees.
Yeah, there's well, the market sometimes is almost always out in front. So those jobs that we gained prior to the recession, and then some people have left and are doing other things rather than flooring or HVAC or wall trimmers and things like that. So now we're righting that ship to match the market needs, and it just doesn't happen soon enough for the employers and soon enough for us. But I think that's what we're seeing at this point.
Just wondering if there isn't an opportunity on our website, your website, the Chamber's website, somebody that local people businesses can post jobs that are open. Because you get into, even then when you go on the Daily Times classifieds now, you end up in one of the big ones, and you're searching nationwide, and there's all kinds of other junk mixed in there. You're not just looking at Salisbury unless you know how to refine it.
I'd have to look a little bit closer at the Maryland Workforce Exchange. I know they have a number of job services listed. Whether they're listing exact jobs, I kind of think they are, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
but
sharing those links on our website, making it easier for people to get to, I think could be useful. I'm not saying we have to invent the database, but to link to ones that are more regional, more local, I think would be beneficial to people here, because I don't think a lot of companies are putting those ads in the newspaper anymore. You used to get the Sunday newspaper and there were 3 or 4 or 5 pages of classifieds, and now you're lucky if there's a full page, and that's with the article. So
I don't know.
They're not going to that expense. They feel like there's enough people out there that they'll find somebody, I think. So putting it online, but I don't know that they're putting it in print, and maybe looking for ways to facilitate that. The other thing that I recently came across was that challenge.gov has a challenge out right now for Startup in a Day, where they're asking localities to commit to trying to work on being able to provide a portal, basically, where people can go and get their information, get their business license, do all they need to do to be in business in a day, like Delaware does, frankly. You could do everything in 2 hours and be done and be in business there. The challenge comes with grant money as well in order to help with that. So,
well, that in collaboration, I mean, we refer a lot of folks to your business development specialists here, and almost every other week or so we have somebody that's calling up and saying, I'm looking for a point of entry, and I'm like, well, you just found one.
Great.
And then Laura, and then we can take it from there. It's been pretty seamless, but the more we can do that online, the better off we're all going to be. It's nice to have that physical presence, but a lot more people using mobile devices these days from wherever they are.
Right.
Thank you. I like knowing that you're in multiple places. I also like knowing that the collaboration between the business development office at the city and your office are that's functioning well, and it's healthy, and it's it makes it stronger.
You don't have to look far.
Right.
Look no further than here.
I'm glad that it is, and I think that's a great thing. I also like knowing and like hearing that we're getting answers to where we need to head from here. I think the recession left everybody in a bit of a panic about where we go, and identifying that our unemployment or our unemployed population in size relatively matches our job opportunities, unfilled job size. I mean, that tells me that we really do have a communication and a training gap, and those are the things we need to be focusing on in terms of getting people to work who are not currently at work. And I think Shaney's point, I think to Ms. Shields' point, there are certainly barriers and challenges for those who have hit a rough patch in life or maybe made bad decisions, but are ready to get back to work and be productive members of our community. And isn't that exactly what we want ultimately? So I think there's I like knowing that we're able to start to clarify the things that we need to putting our efforts into. And I appreciate you coming and talking to us today about that.
I'm happy to do it anytime.
Mr. Spees, did you?
Yeah, may I have a moment?
Yeah.
You talked about the unemployment numbers early on, and I'm always confused about, the unemployment numbers from month to month to month. In regards to those who no longer look for work and they sort of fall off the unemployment numbers, are those kept track of at all?
Well,
for comparisons?
Yeah, sure, and it's the labor force. So I hesitate to use the single month numbers because it just doesn't make a trend. But if we're not where we were at the height of the economy back into 2008 or so, but there's been measured improvement in terms of the labor force numbers. The labor force itself is slightly down versus what it was. Employment is still slightly down, but a little bit, not quite as much as the labor force. So last month it was about a 0.5% increase in the labor force, so it's a more positive sign. People think, you know, it's more confident in finding a job. But unemployment was up 1.5%, so the rate came down from 7.3 to 7.4. But that's just 1 month, and let's see what the in the springtime that's usually helpful. But let's see what the next few months.
And more people of my age group are retiring, so they're leaving the labor force permanently.
Right.
I wanted to.
I've got 2 college graduates that are entering the labor force. So not soon enough.
I wanted to point out too that the VA apprenticeship programs are still robustly funded. So if employers are interested in that, it's just go to va.gov and look up those numbers. And I think there are actually not only links but forms to find. And there's a long list of Maryland on-the-job training and apprenticeship programs, and I can send you that link. But that's something not to be
Absolutely.
yeah, not considered.
Yeah, it's those type of initiatives that will the goal is to put more people to work, and collaborative training and is one way to go about it.
Mr. Ryan, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate you. Keep joining us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah. May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Dave, going back at least 2 to 3 years, attending the mayor's roundtable, the constant discussion has been in terms of the technical jobs. I can remember Katerina from Toroid, and I remember Tony from Chesapeake talking about welders and machine operators. And when Dr. Ray Hoy was there was some collaboration to develop specific programs for these fields. Are you aware of how successful they've been in terms of the numbers or the increase in enrollment in those courses over the last year, for instance?
I'm not at Warwick, and I'd yield to Ray on that. But the welding training that we refer to, and what seemed to be one of the larger needs immediately, is about to get underway. We did not get the EARN grant from the state, at least at this point, but we did get the Maryland Energy Administration grant for that purpose. So those welders well, that training course will soon be up and running, and that's in collaboration with Warwick.
I think that, you know, if you listen to and it's been the same message, although now there seems to be more opportunity. For sure, I think there needs to be a concentrated effort and a coordination so that we can get some metrics put in there that for instance, we should see an increase in enrollment if there's an increase in need. And if that's not happening, then we're either missing a marketing piece or a information piece, for instance, that we need to get to the unemployed. And I'm not sure what the best way of coordinating it is, but I would suggest that again, if we can see an increase in the success rate, we can put more effort into it.
I don't disagree, Mr. Heath. We're reaching out as we speak with Warwick and Dollar and the Workforce Investment Board, because they know the type of skill sets the employers are asking for. And then if we know that, then we can figure out what to train for, and if we know that, we can figure out how to fund that type of exercise. It's as you can imagine, we're blessed with a wide diversity of industry here. That also there's some commonalities in training, and there's some lots of differences. So I don't know that one size fits all, which is why I really like the Partnership for Workforce Quality, because then you can really target each company, regardless of the size, and tailor make a program for that particular company. That being said, and it sounds like I'm talking about both angles here, but there are some commonalities, Excel skills and supervisory skills and things of that nature, that if we can poll the employers out there and gather the team, there's no reason we can't collaboratively put more people to work with jobs that are already here.
Yep.
Jack, you good?
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dave, thanks again.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Jack, I'm going to disconnect for now, and we're going to call Mr. Cohen.
Okay,
Okay, and we'll call you back.
good enough, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Stevenson talked to Dan and said that the changes were minor in the franchise agreement.
So we're going to call
Yeah,
Mr.
the
Cohen now.
version you got a few weeks ago, what you got today is very similar to the version you got a couple of weeks ago.
Are there some standard changes?
No.
So Mr. Cohen is expecting us now and not at 4:50?
Yes, he's standing by.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
Are they just typos or changes from?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, I think if you're going to discuss those, you may have to have a closed session. And I mentioned that to him.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell and Tom Stevenson both have brought up the point that if these changes might involve something that we would need to go into closed session for.
Okay.
Since we're not considering, if there was a discussion about this, it should be in closed session.
Do you recommend we go into closed session?
Just for those
To discuss
changes,
those changes.
if they were typos or things like that.
Okay.
then we've got a negotiated agreement. If there's something we're still working on, it should be discussed privately.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Mr. Cohen would be prepared to speak to that issue as to whether or not council would even have to discuss the agreement.
Okay.
And then if you decide to discuss the agreement, we'll do a closed session.
Well, let's give him a heads up on the phone before he starts talking about it again.
I talked to him already, so he knew where we were.